So I want to address something that I have changed in my thinking about recently in training. It was something that I used to feel fairly strong about. I was never like a super ideologue about this topic, like it was, but I was one of those guys for a long time that just wouldn't work with food to train dogs at all. And the reason for that is because the guys that I learned most of my stuff early on from didn't use food, and they were like really against it. They were borderline militant, but so I was never militant about it. But I always thought, you know, look, I'm training pet dogs. I'm training a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching in terms of stuff they have to learn. You know, pet dog training is usually about behavioral modifications, different from positions. They go hand in hand a little bit, but anyway, I'm just teaching them basic positions, so you can mold that stuff with your hands. You know, it's like you massage them into place. It's basically negative reinforcement, and it's like very gentle compulsion, you know. But anyway, I was like, you don't need to lure a dog to teach him sit. It's like pretty easy to do with your hands, you know, unless it's a dog that wants to bite you. It's trickier. So I was very stubborn about it for a long time because I thought that it devalues the handler in the dog's eyes. Well, I think that half of that line of thinking was correct. So I want to make this clear. There's an approach in training that trainers, I think, should take, and then owners. Owners, I think, should stay away from food because you're going to fuck it up. You're going to get stuck on a lure. You're going to reinforce too much, and the dog is going to look at you. You're going to say sit, and the dog's going to go, pay me 10 bucks. You know, it's like, hey, Johnny, go get the paper. Yeah, Dad. Actually, I want 15 bucks today. You know, it becomes transactional very, very quickly. And there is a risk, even if you do it right, if you're not consistent, or you have a hard time being assertive with the dog, where it will devalue, you'll be devalued potentially in their eyes. So, but that's part of a broader problem, okay? And it's more symptomatic than anything else, right? So we have a culture where basically people infantilize dogs, and they humanize them, and they're not consistent, and a lot of times they don't try hard, you know? Like, I don't have too many, there's a lot of complex reasons why dogs develop problems, but I don't think I've ever had a dog come to me because the owner was too hard on him, you know? I've had some rescues that had, you know, straight out of rescue that had that issue. But, you know what I mean? Like, so that's more the problem. The food stuff is like, it's symptomatic of that. So it's I think a lot deeper than just that. With trainers, it's a separate issue. First of all, with a dog, I have to deliberately tone myself down. Okay, they can smell it off me. Like I've been around them so much. Very, very rare that I'm actually like a little bit afraid of a dog. And if I am, I listen to that fear because it's telling you something. Pay attention, right? So, but I just come in and I'm naturally assertive in a lot of contexts anyway. But particularly with dogs, that my mentality is like, one of us will die before a dog becomes fully dominant over me. Although I don't really have I have a close to zero approach to training in terms of zero level conflict. I just try to circumvent that as much as possible, but at the same time, my mentality is a dog is never going to look at me as a subordinate ever. It's just never, it's my own or someone else's. But for the most part, I don't want to get into that right away. They get that usually. I don't have to like spell that out for them. They can smell it off me. So I'm more worried about intimidating them. Do you think a dog, if I give him a treat or something, is all of a sudden going to go, this guy's a pussy? You know what I mean? So I just started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm being really, really, really narrow in my thinking on this subject. And another thing too is the guys that I get most of my stuff from, I attend a lot of seminars and stuff like that. They're all like dog sport guys, like IPO, used to be called Schutzen, and French ring, all the protection sports. they all use food, okay? Again, but these are naturally assertive people. These are not dog owners. So these dudes have been around like working line shepherds since they were 12. They walk in, you know, no, and then they'll get to work. The dog is, because they get a piece of food, the guy, they're gonna be like, oh, this guy's a chump, right? But anyway, you can get some really flashy behavior out of the dog, especially in really precise positioning. If you know what you're doing, and you can develop really good speed with them. It helps a lot with puppies because, for instance, if you teach down, right, put a little bit of pressure on their back and come into them like that, they fold back. Same thing with stand. You just kind of use spatial pressure and they kick back. Now, down in particular, that matters. So like say you had to tell a dog down real fast. If the dog folds back, it's way faster than if they sit and then go down, which is what 99% of dogs do because they're taught down from a sit. That's functional. So how you establish your foundation with command structure in terms of positions, it matters. So it's not just aesthetic, although there's a really nice aesthetic to it too. But this is like very limited early on. Another issue, okay, is a lot of the dogs I'm dealing with are pet dogs. So I want to get the dogs actually engaged and to enjoy the work, because a lot of these dogs are checked out. You know, they've been managed, they're like looking around. I need them to focus on me, so I got to motivate them. So sometimes you got to pay them a little more, you know? And in order to get that out of them, sometimes if you're working a little bit of food with a dog that, for instance, is low drive, you know, they're not going to tug with you, or they may not retrieve around distractions. So then what do? Well, you can rely on just praise, yeah, but that's usually not enough to really get them into it. If you want a dog to be like, bam, looking to work in that mindset, sometimes you got to pay a little extra. So it can be, I have problems with engagement with a lot of pet dogs, and these aren't really high drive dogs. So what's your other option? You got praise, you have toy, tug, ball, so toy rewards, and then you get food rewards. Unfortunately, most pet dogs around distractions are not going to play possession games and tug with you. So that's another issue I came into. The last thing is e-collar conditioning. Vastly superior when you use food. It's night and day. You take that tool from being basically punitive in nature to more of like a signaling mechanism. It can be used correctively as well, but it becomes more of an advanced tool once you condition it in a little bit differently. And again, you could use a ball or tug. They don't get as excited by it, most of them, and some of them don't care, you know. But they're all going to come pop, pop, pop for, you know, especially use raw meat, which is what I do in the beginning. And it just, you're making it very clear because they don't understand what that sensation means. In a very gentle kind of way, you're saying, this is what this signal means. It means come near me. And they feel it, and you're getting fast return on recall and stuff like that. And they get way less stressed by this thing that they don't understand. You know, I used to introduce it on leash, low levels, gentle little positional pulse, but again, that's negative. Now I'm turning into something that is almost like a positive marker. You know, it's like a clicker, but it's aversive slightly too. So like they learn to push through that minor discomfort, gives them a little kick in the ass, but it shows them like, you push through, there's something good waiting for you potentially at the end. So I don't want to get too many of the details, but it vastly improved e-collar training for me. So, you know, these are reasons. I was very stubborn about this for a long time. But, you know, I looked at all the dog guys. I want my dogs to look like that. I want them to look good. I don't want to see kind of heads down like they'll do it, compliant. I'm like, if this doesn't, if I'm not getting, you know, reduced compliance, and the dogs are still reliable, you know, I'll use small amounts of food. It's not a big deal. Like, so, and I started easing up on it. I was just stubborn about it for a long time because it's how I was raised up, you know. And I'm glad I have that background, that old school background. But my mentality will always be that way. And I'm very vigilant of creating a transactional dynamic, and I'm very conservative still with the use of food. If I can get away with not doing it, or just tiny amounts, then that's always going to be my bias. I prefer tug possession games, you know, basically baby protection, bite work. But they're not all motivated by that. So, but that's always better because it's not transactional. It's better relationally. Builds their confidence more about not everybody's this idiot. And by the way, so like I touched upon this. Look, so like I'm letting them do this now. And you shouldn't really. High drive dogs, by the way, you shouldn't really fuck around within the house because they're very susceptible to classical conditioning. Anyway, no big deal. But he's a nutcase, right? He's like, I want him like that. Dogs like this make terrible pets, but I'm a fucking weirdo dog trainer. I'm not really an average pet owner. And you want that because you channel it. You can get complex behaviors out of them. And you want it, and they're hyper motivated, these dogs, and you really want to exacerbate that in a dog that you're gonna, you know, use for working purposes, or you know, or at least you're gonna be call it like a serious hobbyist, you know. So that's why I like him being a little nuts. And to get the dogs where they're really popping around and really like the work, it's okay to have a dog that's like, as long as they have a number of different emotional frequencies, you know, where they can go up and down and function in different ways. And that's a problem with a lot of working dogs, is that they don't make great pets. A lot of them are terrible pets. Some of them are dangerous. And it's because they never, and this is the fault of, I think, a lot of biases that you see in a lot of working dog people, which is that they think that the dog, you're going to reduce the dog's drive if they're not just fucking bonkers all the time, right? And that's a mistake. But on the other, I think that they can all function to live as pets, and they can have a calm state and then an aroused state. But with him, he's generally going to be more up here, way more on average. It's going to be way nuttier than, you know, your average dog, but that's okay with me. But look, pet owners make the opposite mistake, which is that they think, probably because it seems wrong, like you gotta have a calm dog. Calm, submissive dog. Submissive to me. Any dog, yeah. But, you know, if he was only submissive to me and my girlfriend, I'm okay with that. You know, because like, he's gotta be macho. Alright, but he's gotta listen to me. So a working dog really only needs to be subordinate to one person, but a pet, you want subordinate across the board, but they don't have to be calm all the time. When you're working them in, you want them to enjoy it. Get into it, you know, but if you're a pet owner and you follow that rule, you're probably going to fuck up. You're just going to feed the dog food every time. You got to just use it very small amounts in the beginning, go to a random reinforcement schedule as quickly as possible. Try to get them on a ball or a tug quickly, but so there's trainer rules and then there's pet owner rules, and really they're two different things. But this is where my head's at in terms of the stuff with food now. And that's it. I mean, if the best trainers in the world are Bart Balone, Ivan Balabanov, who's my favorite, uses small amounts of food. Although his bias is not to. He likes this stuff, you know. But if those guys can do it, I mean, who am I to question that, you know? So you should look to the people who are best in the world at something and try to emulate them. And that's basically what I do. It's a pretty practical, pragmatic way of thinking about it. So that's where my head's at now. I try not to be an ideologue with any of this stuff. You know, just follow common sense and be generally pragmatic and look for what's effective, and always try to get better. So that's where I am now. But owners, I still say just stay the fuck away from food. You're gonna have big problems, and generally speaking, most of you could be a lot more consistent with your dogs, okay, and be a little bit more assertive probably too, if not a lot more. All right, that's all.